What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Game Show presented by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my very handsome co-host. That's 3 in a row, JL, if you're keeping track.
I know, you're being so nice.
What's up, JL?
Every time I say that, Simon, I can't not hear that intro song I made, which I realize nobody knows about except for you right now. But I spent a few hours making a song for our new morning show, and it had just that intro in it.
It did. Guys, also joining us today is another member of the Front Yard fam. We've got Joey Wright with us. What's up, Joey?
Yeah, just was outside chopping some trees down and petting my blue ox. It's a good morning.
Sounds
like how many trees you got?
Like Paul Bunyan, because I'm a lumberjack.
I just thought that's what you
all right, guys, this is great.
Morning.
Good seeing you today.
Guys, also joining us today, we have great friend of the show, Roto Heat Craig, joining us as well. For those of you that do not know Craig, one, what the hell are you doing? He's been around here.
You've never been in the chat then.
You have not been in the chat. He is the host of Player Normal Activity. He is the creative director over at Roto Heat Fantasy, and he is always coming in with the best jokes to start our streams. Craig, thank you so much for joining us today, my man.
Well, thank you for having me. It was great to see you guys. I've gone through your back catalog. I know you told everyone not to do that, but, from humble beginnings with Simon and Jail, just basically interviewing and quizzing each other, to now having, famed Scott Farrell on your morning show over on Better Sports Network. You guys have come a long way, and it's great to see. So thanks for having me.
Now we just need the actual Farrell to come on the show.
And then it will be complete.
Full circle.
And
if
Craig,
go ahead.
Thank you so much for joining us on the morning show this morning. You called in and we got to wish happy birthday to your son on air. Hope he's having a killer birthday.
Was it your son or your daughter?
It was my son's birthday.
He's
turning 10 today. Yep.
That's amazing.
That's a big one too. 10 years old. That's exciting. Guys, we got some people in the chat ready for today's show. Jay in here saying something tells me that today's guest will be ruthless when it comes to sniping others in this mock.
Low-hanging fruit, but I respect the fact that you came in here and filled in for Craig.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna give you an A+.
And Craig said, yeah, that Keith guy is something else. Yeah, Keith, something else for sure.
I get called Keith constantly, so that's what that was.
I could see that. I feel like I got called Sam a lot growing up, and like it's not even close to the same name, but I get it. Know what I mean? Like Keith, Craig, Sam, like sometimes it's just hard. You hear that first letter and you give up afterwards. We got Scott in here and said, holy crap, Jay beat Craig to the chat, but Craig beat Jay onto the show today. So who really won? I guess we can call it a tie. We got Alex here saying if Simon makes a pick here, but not in our actual draft, we'll riot. Well, you guys took all the wide receivers I wanted, so I'm just going to take my time and figure it out after the stream. Sorry, Alex. We got Albert in the chat saying good afternoon. What's up, Albert? Glad to have you here. And Scott said, what's up, FYF family? Man, it makes me a little happy every time like the FYF fam or family gets put in there. Like it's just like
they are
makes me
family.
Feel loved, right? It is real family right there. Swamp says, who dat at work? And he cries. Swamp,
you work too much, dude.
You got to let us know when you're not at work.
Honestly, I'm concerned for you. Your blood pressure's too high. You're overworked. Your kids haven't seen you in months, man.
Dustin's in here, is excited to snipe Joey on the back turn. I think he picked that draft spot just to snipe Joey.
Gross.
Listen, a lot of people want to be next to me in this world. I'm just glad Dustin could be there today.
Also, Swampin, you're saying my Jimmy John's league drafted yesterday. If y'all are down to see my team, throw it in the chat. And while we're mock drafting today, we will take a peek at that.
I need it.
I would love to see that right there. Mr. Scamper's in the chat, our favorite chat cat. Hi.
Meow.
With the dinosaur emojis for Craig in there.
Thank you, Scampers.
Always. And your son had a sick dinosaur shirt on this morning. I think it's a crime against humanity that more adult men's shirts don't have dinosaurs on them. Like there should be more dinosaur t-shirts.
I think about that a lot.
right? Not just dinosaurs. We can take it further, like bulldozers. Like, why can't I just go buy a shirt with like a bulldozer on it? Like, that's cool, but only like 5-year-olds get to have bulldozer shirts. Bulldozers and dinosaurs. They got a monopoly on them.
Adults
You gotta
can
get out of
like
like the
tractors too.
big box stores. Go online and you can find anything online, Simon. You can find a whole week's worth of bulldozer shirts if you wanted.
I'm convinced that Target's graphic tee section has literally anything you can think of. You just have to look. That's just an assumption I live with.
Could be.
Dustin in here saying hashtag Team Joey. So he's gonna snipe you, but he's on your team. Then he wants to know, who are those Funko Pops? Who are the Funko Pops behind you, Joey?
So I've got. Let's see if I give my finger right. Okay, yeah, full screen me. I've got Roddy Piper. It's my favorite professional wrestler of all time. I've got Kenny Omega, another wrestler, and then the Young Bucks. That's actually signed, and that's all the pops I have. Thank you.
That is all the pops Joey has, and I got one Silver Surfer hiding behind me somewhere, but they're not as cool as Joey's.
They're all wrestlers.
We got Joseph in the chat saying, watching while substitute teaching. Oh, heck yeah. Put it on for the whole class, Joseph. That would be the best substitute teacher move.
We better educate them today.
Yeah.
Listen up, kids.
Do you guys ever have like the crazy sub that came in and like there were lesson plans and they just said, nah, we're not doing that? Like I remember in middle school, one time I had a guy came in and he spent the whole class telling us about feeding a sheep to a python the night before, his friend's python, and how that's why he was so tired was because he got injured feeding a sheep to the python.
And I'm sure he came in and he's like, I'm sure you're all wondering why I'm so tired today.
Exactly. And we were in the 8th grade, so we believed every word he said. Next day, our teacher comes in and goes, I know him. He does not have a python. Like that was all just straight lies. Like that dude was hungover looking back.
Simon, I will tell you that sometimes it's the regular teacher that just gives junk for the substitute teacher to do because they don't want to have it. I was for half a year, I was a substitute teacher between undergrad and law school because I needed, some sort of work. And for when I was going back to my original high school in my hometown, substitute teach there was like auto and shop. They gave us, and the teacher had never watched it, but he said, one of the kids brought this in, it's about cars. You could watch this. Joey, you'll appreciate this. It was the movie Hot Rod. They had us play for every class, which really has nothing to do with auto and shop.
With Andy Samberg?
Yep, Andy Samberg movie, Hot Rod. That's what he had
whenever
me
you said
play
Joey
for the
will know
classes.
this, I just assumed it was a really old movie.
Oh, no.
Then I was like, Hot Rod. I watched that.
Secretly love that movie. It's got a great soundtrack.
It is a good movie.
That was the teacher's plan, so it's not always the substitute.
The teacher said play Hot Rod for the class. That's awesome. Yep. Scott in here said, sorry, I couldn't get up at 4 a.m. PST for the show this morning. Sad. That is okay, Scott. I know that's early right there. And we got NBA in the chat. What's up, NBA? Glad to have you in here.
By the way, just everybody who did show up this morning and come hang out with us, thank you so much. It was a ton of fun. First show, and I think half of it got on our YouTube channel. And then there's some technical issues. So we'll get those all worked out. But yeah, appreciate the support as always.
100%. Bob in here saying I will make some Dino Bulldozer shirts.
Yes.
Bob, the hero that we needed. A Dino Bulldozer shirt. That sounds completely
that's perfect. Such a good idea.
T-Rex trying to work a bulldozer, but his arms won't reach. Oh, that'd be fun.
Perfect.
I was imagining a T-Rex with like a scooper in front of it, like attached to it.
Hey,
instead of arms,
it goes into like
Cheers to you too, Chris.
We can make a whole line. Yeah, Chris, and you said AEW, and they said Bucks are great, man. You got another wrestling fan in the chat
here we go.
with you. Guys, we are going to get into our mock draft. I see some more comments in there. We'll be hitting those throughout the draft while we're going through this. Before we start, though, a couple reminders. Number one, if you are not already following our guest, Craig, remedy that right now. Craig is truly one of our favorite people in this space. And it is a crime to yourself and to your timeline if Craig isn't showing up in there. So
he actually lives in the chat. He doesn't go on. You all, you click out of the browser whenever you're done watching us. Craig doesn't eat.
You weren't going to tell people that, Jail.
Shoot.
I wasn't. I thought you said tell everybody that.
Well, cat's out of the bag now. Sorry, Scampers.
Now Mr. Scampers is out of the bag too. We weren't supposed to let him out. Someone get him back in there. Guys, after you do that, if you're watching this show, that means you're probably already on our YouTube channel. If you are, hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to our channel at Front Yard Fantasy. Easiest way to make sure you're not missing any of the shows that we're putting out. We're here every day, Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And we've got awesome VOD content that's being pushed out right now. It's draft season. We're going to get into the in-season stuff. We've got video content on there as well that Jay, Justin, Marco, and the rest of the team are putting together. So make sure you guys go check out the awesome videos that are finding their way through our YouTube channel as well. You guys ready to mock?
Oh yeah,
there's-
Simon, did you join from the company account again?
I did join from the company account, so
You
you're going to have to
dingleberry.
share your screen, and then I will draft from the company account. It looks like the draft is full now. Mr. Scampers and Chev took those last 2 spots. and we can
Yeah,
get
2 of my
started.
favorites.
Craig's going to be drafting from the 5 spot. I am drafting from the 8. Joey's drafting from the 9, and we are doing a 10-team PPR 1 quarterback redraft mock draft. So this probably looks like a lot of your home leagues. I know most of my home leagues are 10 teams. And then the 1 quarterback PPR. So this is a fairly standard mock, maybe a little different than the ones we've been doing though, because we primarily do 12 teamers. But I think we're ready to get into it. Joe, you want to go ahead and start that?
I can start it. And Simon, you kind of touched on it, but guys, we're in draft week. This is it. This is like prime redraft draft time. Practice makes perfect.
I had 3 home league drafts yesterday.
You did? Did you win?
Did I win? I think I got B's in all of them. I did have a really funny experience on Friday with a home league draft where I checked my own evaluation on Fantasy Pros and I gave myself a C. And I thought that was really funny.
That is pretty funny.
I thought I did
Oh,
good
you
against
know.
myself, but no, I didn't.
Just your average Joey team.
Average Joey team. And we got 2 for the first 2 picks, Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey. Very shocking
Pretty
news.
standard. Yeah, pretty
Brand
pretty
new
standard.
information. I just want
The
someone
only-
to take Gabe Davis first overall.
Or like in
In
our
a
mock
real
draft
draft.
yesterday,
The wheel,
Javonte
yeah.
Williams got
Oh,
taken
yeah,
first
Javonte, yeah.
overall. Craig,
That
you
was
were part of that
chaos.
draft. You did the wheel spinning thing with us, didn't you? Like where you randomly selected a team?
Yeah, that was just something else. Like when you're trying to find a Raider that you want to take in round 4, and you're like Devontae Adams and Darren Waller are gone
Yeah, and the
already.
timer's
It's
2.5 seconds.
Hunter Renfro or Josh Jacobs, flip a coin here.
Yeah, or when you're trying to find a Seahawk and you draft Russell Wilson in the first round on accident. That didn't go very well either. That was
Russell
my
Wilson.
bad. He's not a Seahawk anymore for anybody watching who didn't know or gets
Chris
confused like I
Thompson.
do sometimes.
Chris Thompson said, ask JL who he has winning, John Moxley or CM Punk. I'm gonna have to go with John Moxley. I mean, with a name like that,
Idiot.
I don't see how CM Punk could ever take him down.
This is one of my favorite things in the world. JL, can you tell me what John Moxley looks like in your mind?
Yeah, massive nipples, but otherwise pretty normal.
Honestly,
Very disproportionate.
exactly what I was picturing as well. Like just your standard 5'10", 190-pound dude.
6
just standing there,
diameter,
but with
6-inch diameter nipples.
6 inch. See, I was picturing 4.5, which would still be pretty big, but
The disrespect to
average.
John Moxley on this.
Take the
show.
glasses off of Simon, give him a little bit of bulk, and you got John Moxley.
No, seriously, that's not Craig. You're not bad. And
I know. I've
Not
actually
bad.
seen him before. I know a little bit about wrestling. A little bit.
Whoa, some new sleeper sounds that I have not heard yet.
Oh my God, they were driving me nuts in the draft that I did yesterday. It was for the Midland Industry League, and their time runs out. They just play the song on or the sound on loop of people like booing, and so you couldn't hear anything for like 10 minutes in this call while we were trying to draft.
Scott said Joey set him straight. Does JL need to be set straight on that front on taking John Moxley in that matchup?
So yeah, I mean, I think CM Punk's gonna win by hook or crook. By hook or crook means he's probably gonna cheat to do it. I think we're gonna see the heel turn of CM Punk, and yeah, so that's what I see.
I don't think CM Punk has been the same since they broke up Daft Punk. So I'm not taking CM Punk in any matchup.
So you're not drafting him today, is what you're saying, JL.
Sorry,
Definitely not drafting
If
him.
you were in this,
If you can find him, you should draft him though.
Ooh, did you guys hear that? There's thunder.
You fart? Oh.
I just did there though.
Close enough.
Sorry.
So we got Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon following those first 2 running backs coming off the board, and Justin Jefferson, the first wide receiver taken, which is about 4 picks until the next one, Cooper Kupp by NBA rigged. It's kind of interesting because was it a draft yesterday? We just did a draft, I thought, and Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson have been going back to back. Which of those 2 guys are you taking first, Greg?
I'm sorry, I'm on the clock. Which 2 names did you say again?
Or I pulled a Simon. Go ahead and make your pick. I'll come back to you. Joey.
Yes.
Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson.
I have Justin Jefferson as my number 1 wide receiver. However, if I can get Cooper Kupp 7th overall, I would rather have that value, even though it's a very small window. If I could get Cooper Kupp in the 7 hole, I would take that over getting Jefferson in the 3 hole. But I don't disagree with the pick at all.
So
that makes sense.
I guess as a follow-up, Joey, my bigger question here, in reality, I don't really care Jefferson or Kupp. Know what I mean? Like I may have a slight preference towards Jefferson, but like they are both elite options this year. I'm thrilled to have either one of them. I want whichever one goes later if I can pick from that spot. The question for me is these running backs after Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey that went ahead of Cooper Kupp, Austin Eckler, Craig, you ended up taking Derrick Henry, and I see Joe Mixon there. Like, where's the line on those guys for you? Like those running backs versus taking one of these receivers. Like after which running back are you looking at Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, as opposed to taking one of those guys? Because I assume like at least JT and CMC are at the top of your draft board.
Is this a question for me?
Yeah, we'll start with you, but then we can hit Craig too, because I know you took Derrick Henry there.
That's what I thought. Okay, so for me, the only player I would have taken before Jefferson was Eckler. And then I would have taken my wide receiver.
Okay, so Eckler is where that line is.
Yep.
Craig, what about for you? Because I see you took Derrick Henry. Is that line for you at Derrick Henry? Would you have taken Jefferson if he was there?
I still probably would have taken Derrick Henry just based on the fact that I'm sick of betting against him, and he's one of those guys that he just seems like he's made to ride until the wheels fall off, and it hasn't happened yet. And I don't read a whole lot into athletes on social media because, what are they going to say? Oh, I suck. Like when Chase Claypool came out with that, top 3 wide receiver thing, did you really want him to say, oh, I'm a wide receiver 3 best in the league? No one wanted to hear that. But Derrick Henry coming out and telling people like, please, bet against me in fantasy this year. Like, I dare you. Like, I'm not doing that. He's coming. Yeah. I mean,
it's absolutely terrifying.
It almost feels like if you do bet against him, he's going to come through your computer screen and just rip you in half. So
he's about to score like 2,000 fantasy points this year.
Yeah, that's what it kind of feels like. And that offense is going to need him to continue to be that focal point because the offensive line is a little bit worse, I think. Tannehill isn't anything amazing, so they're going to continue to give him all that he can handle. So I'm banking on him.
Yeah, Craig, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So because we're in a 10-team league versus a 12-team league, does that make you lean even more running back? Because wide receiver is already deep and it's going to be even deeper now?
It would, yeah, especially if you're starting 3. I mean, I want those running backs, and even as a flex, if you have 2 flexes, to be able to load up on running back is probably my preference. But again, don't just do it because that's your plan ahead of time. If the draft moves a different way, you have to. What do you guys say? Be water, be fluid.
Simon, I would pay $1,000 for your team right now. Take it or leave it.
I'll take $1,000 and you can have it. But
that's a really solid start. Like I feel like if I started any draft with a redraft like that, I'd be hyped.
Yeah, 100%. I considered even taking Swift right there in that first round spot, but with Jamar Chase falling that far, like that's a guy I would take in that. Like if I had a top 6 pick, that's one of the 6 players I would be looking to target is Jamar Chase. So I'm not going to let that fall past me. But getting DeAndre Swift on the way back, this is a running back who has RB number 1 overall potential with a fairly safe floor as well, as long as he stays healthy in that offense. I'm thrilled to get DeAndre Swift there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great pick. Jamar Chase is kind of interesting in the first because I feel like, of course, everybody knows Dynasty, he's a top pick, right? Does that always translate to redraft? Are you? I'm guessing where you drafted him, you think he's the wide receiver 3, or
my value here has nothing to do with his dynasty outlook or like long-term value. It has solely to do with what I think he's going to do this year. And it's based on what we saw him do last year, and that this Bengals offense should, if anything, be better this year. I expect him to be another like high pass volume, high powered offense. And Jamar Chase is the at least wide receiver 1A, 1B in that situation with T Higgins. But I think he's a locked and loaded wide receiver 1 and one of the few guys that can push for that top role, though it's going to be hard to unseat Jefferson or Kupp, but it's in his range of outcomes.
Yeah. Craig, what about you? Are there any of those wide receivers that went right after Jamar Chase that you would consider taking ahead of Jamar Chase in redraft? Are you
Stephon Diggs, I would certainly consider taking over him because despite what they say about Gabe Davis, he's just, the name there in Buffalo still. And I think that Buffalo is going to continue to just air it out, and he's going to sort of have a bounce back year from what he had last year. He had a nice year last year, but I still see Allen throwing to him more. And I think, looking back at the end of the year, Diggs could end up being the wide receiver 1 in that offense. I mean, of all of fantasy with that offense that they have.
He's my wide receiver 4, and I would have taken him if he was there with Swift. If I was looking at Diggs versus Swift for that pick, like Diggs was my plan. That's who I wanted to go there, but Diggs was gone. Happy to land Swift, but I'm with you, Craig. Diggs is another one of those guys that's like at least in that range, and I wouldn't fault anybody for having him as a top 3 guy. Like if Diggs is your 3rd guy, I'm on board.
Joey, it feels like, well, I guess you're drafting, so I'll ask you after that, and I'll address these comments while you are picking. Scott saying, I'm about to go full on Simon. That could mean many things, Scott. That's a dangerous thing to say. What did you say, Joey?
Dustin did snipe me on AJ Brown.
AJ Brown.
But I'm happy with Higgins. I wasn't tilting. I was tilting on those 3 tight ends going before me. I was hoping to catch at least one of them.
Yeah, I saw those first 2 guys go, and at that point, I wanted to secure one of the top 3 tight ends. There was only one left, and so I took him. Like at the end of the 3rd round, I'm totally fine grabbing Pitts. Like that is where in a 10-team league, that is where he should be going. Mm-hmm. I feel like not like a value, but just I got him at value, at cost, where he's generally getting drafted.
Craig, do you like that Pitts take there? You think that I'm gonna reach on it?
No, I think he should be going right around where Kelsey and Andrews go from what we saw of him last year. And just the fact that they're going to need to continue to throw to him. You know, it's sort of him, Drake London. What else do you have out there? And I think they're going to be behind in games because that defense looks to be atrocious.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Dustin saying, I have Kupp as my wide receiver 6. Going back to alluding to our previous conversation. So who went 6 here? We had CD Lamb. So Chase, I'm guessing he has Chase or Lamb ahead of Chase. It's pretty interesting.
He's got to have Lamb ahead of Chase and Diggs, and then at least one more receiver, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hiller Adams probably.
Oh, he laid it out for us. Jefferson, Chase, Lamb, Adams, Diggs, and then Kupp. Wow, that's pretty surprising.
That's high for Adams for me. That's high for Adams for me. Not that it's not like possible in that offense. There's so much uncertainty. I have trouble putting him that high. I couldn't draft him over Diggs or Lamb or Chase. I have trouble.
I get the Lamb love. I had Lamb as high as wide receiver 3 this offseason. With the amount of work he could get in Dallas this year, he could be really something special.
Is that mainly because Cooper's gone? Is that like the main driving force of that?
Yeah, with Amari Cooper gone and Gallup not exactly recovered from injury, and was it Jalen Tolbert's the next best wide receiver there? And Dalton Schultz, I mean, could be great, but Lamb really does seem like he has a great opportunity to stand out this year. But I still have him behind Kupp, but I understand it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think Lamb is he's one of those players that's a little bit harder to maybe project. I don't know. I found his situation a little trickier to tell, like, how much is talent. I mean, we know he's a talented player, but how much is the situation and circumstances in Dallas affecting his output and his value in fantasy? Craig, are you with Joey on CeeDee Lamb? Do you have him taking a big jump up this year?
I would love to, given that I'm a Cowboys fan. I guess I just have more concerns about that offense as a whole. That offensive line has been a mess quietly for a couple of years, and now like really publicly before the year starts with Tyron Smith being out, and there's rumors like, oh, they're going to go get Andrew Whitworth, which they can't unless they trade for him because he's still under contract despite being retired with the Rams. There's all sorts of that stuff out there. I think they're going to have to throw the ball, but I just have concerns about them protecting Dak, and that worries me. Should he be the clear alpha in that offense and then end up as a wide receiver 1? Yeah, I think so. But going that high, like a clear top 5, I don't know that I'm willing to go that far.
Yeah. Simon, are you taking Evans or Lamb in redraft first?
I'm taking Lamb. Lamb before Evans.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I have Evans relatively high, even with Godwin coming back week 1, but not ahead of CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 5. So it goes Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb is right after Diggs in that ranking. He is the beginning of a next tier, though, because we haven't seen him be that alpha in the offense. We haven't seen him step into that role, and sometimes it doesn't work how you think it's going to. We saw that with Juju Smith-Schuster whenever he became the one there in Pittsburgh. I know this is a different player, a different team, but CeeDee Lamb, because of that uncertainty, he's just not in that top tier for me. Like, there is separation between Diggs and Lamb. Like, I have a tier break right there.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like just comparing their offensive situations is enough to give 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 Diggs the edge on that one.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Craig. Before I do, we got a question here from Cole. Said, could y'all rate my team 10 team PPR? Jalen Hurts, Henry Mixon, Barkley Akers, AJ Brown. Y'all, Cole, you sneaky mom. You're just trying to get the compliments. It's a solid team.
Yeah. I have a trade recommendation for you. If you have a job that makes you work on Sundays, make sure you get the championship Sunday off so you can celebrate.
There you go.
That's my trade recommendation.
Just put in for your paid time off.
Damn you, Simon. I thought he was going to make it back to me.
I did not. That was the turmoil that went through my mind in making that selection, because there's so many receivers in this range that I love that I wanted to take, but I'm trying something out here, seeing what my team looks like going two running backs in the first 5 rounds.
How has your excitement or expectations for Breece Hall changed with the recent bad news, Simon?
The bad news being that Michael Carter's listed first on the depth chart.
That offensive line injuries as well. Yeah. Zach Wilson potentially being hurt.
Yeah. I mean, the offense suffers as a whole if Zach Wilson is out, supposedly. Know what I mean? Like, that's what we're assuming is that it's going to be worse. But I mean, it wasn't great last year with Zach Wilson. I know they made a ton of improvements for him, but the news about Michael Carter being listed as the one, that literally changes nothing for me. Not a single thing does that change for me, because that's what they're going to say. Breece Hall's a rookie who came in, and Michael Carter was fine last year. But I think Breece Hall's better in every aspect of the game at the running back position than Michael Carter. I expect him to take over. His ceiling's capped by this poor offense, but he should be the guy there, and I'm fine taking him in the 5th round.
Yeah, for sure.
His upside is so much higher than all of the other guys going in this range, I feel like. So I'm fine taking him.
Yeah, and what we have, the argument might be, okay, well, we haven't seen Breece Hall in the NFL. We also haven't seen how the Jets might use Breece Hall. So the opportunities might be there. I feel like that's what keeps pulling me back into Breece Hall, to where they might use him in a way that it might not matter as much that his offensive line is poo butt.
Poo butt. Is that the official term?
Yep. That's it. And also, those depth. Someone told me recently. I don't want to take credit for it, but they're saying that all those the preseason depth charts are often like social media managers creating them. Not something to be getting insight from.
Does it make you worry at all that the Jets are going to just keep being the Jets and do things that are baffling and don't make sense?
Tim has been making that point the entire offseason. Every time the Jets hype gets brought up, he goes, "But guys, it's still the Jets." Like until we see it, maybe we should just operate under the assumption that the Jets are the Jets until proven otherwise.
Yeah, but that if you follow that strategy, then you always are going to be just basically chasing whoever is successable, because you're never.
I'm with you. I just drafted Breece Hall. Yeah, I'm with you. I understand that side of it. Yeah, I just drafted him, but
one of my best friends is a Jet.
See Bob in here saying Joey has an image in his DMs. Joey, do you have an image in your DMs from Bob?
Solicited or unsolicited?
Sometimes when you speak something into the earth, into the universe, I should say, it manifests itself in your DM Twitter inbox, and it's definitely a T-Rex inside of a bulldozer trying to operate it, but its arms are too tiny.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were about to put it up on the screen.
I don't know how to.
Solo layout while Joey looks at a picture.
Yeah, let's solo layout Joey while he stares at it.
I don't. Is there a way I can do that? Oh wait, I can share, can I?
You could share.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Oh.
I'm gonna give me a second.
Swamp Antonio Gibson, man. Is there another player who feels worse to draft right now than Antonio Gibson?
Yeah,
there is.
Maybe I was curious about Deontay Johnson, where he was going to go. I was going to see where Deontay Johnson went, because I was curious with that news coming out. It doesn't seem serious. Maybe his week 1 status is in jeopardy, but I feel like he fell a little bit further than he usually does. Some of the names going ahead of him, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton. I feel like I usually see him a little bit higher in that range. Are you guys comfortable drafting Deontay Johnson with the current status of his injury? Because I thought about him with that Jalen Waddle spot. I was like, maybe Deontay Johnson. I was like, I can't do it. I can't pull the trigger on Deontay Johnson right now over Jalen Waddle. That was the tiebreaker for me, was that injury concern.
I would take Waddle in that situation. There's just enough. There's way more uncertainty, it feels like, in Pittsburgh than in Miami.
I think I did it right, Simon.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. We can pull this up.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. Look at that T-Rex with those little arms operating the levers. They're just the right length.
You've outdone yourself.
Bob, I said bulldozer, and you said, you know what? You know what would be better? A backhoe, and you were right. You were correct. That is 100% better. I think that's what that is, right?
The name of all of the different vehicles, Simon?
Yeah, every single one, model numbers and everything. I was a Tonka kid.
Tonka kid.
I was a Tonka kid. We had that yellow and black Tonka stuff all over the house, nonstop.
Have I stopped sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want anybody to see what's in my other tabs.
Yeah, you can pull everything else up freely.
Good point, Tim. We hadn't considered that. Oh man! While I was trying to look up this news for for Deontay Johnson sign, I just see NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. I almost said the fun one. Rappaport reports there's some interest around the league in a trade for Mason Rudolph. Don't lie, Ian. Don't lie to us.
You know what? He knew Mason Rudolph's been having a rough couple weeks, and he just threw that out there so that whenever he Googled himself today, he could see that pop up and be like, "Oh, there's interest in me." Just like up his morale a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, the Ravens mascot was injured yesterday, so they do need someone to fill that costume.
Poe was.
Did you not see what happened?
No.
Poe was carted off the field, JL.
Yeah, Poe was carted off the field.
Is Poe live?
Well, so they had the thing where the mascots play against the junior, like the Pee Wee football teams, and I believe he tore his ACL. Like,
you have to go to a vet.
Wait, so I didn't look too much into this, Joey. Was that a bit, or did that actually happen? Like, is Poe actually the guy in the suit? Did he actually tear his ACL?
Is a guy in there?
Yes.
So I didn't know birds have ACLs.
I can't tell if it was a contact or non-contact injury. I've watched the clip, and he grabs his knee like really quick.
Oh, bro, Cal, you stinky guy.
Bro Cal's name makes you sound immediately just not dangerous when you're insulting him. Like, Bro Cal. Huh. Dave in here saying Team Simon always and forever. I hope someone loves me the way that Dave loves you.
Man, it feels good every single time. And I'm telling you, truly, a highlight of my year, not just that weekend, was hearing that in person, running up to Dave. He puts
money where his mouth is, you know?
It was just smiles and love, like from the moment I met Dave there in Canton. I don't know what I want to do here, but I have to decide. This is the range where like every running back, I'm like, ugh, like no thanks. But I'm not sure where to go instead.
Scott saying, sounds like Jimmy G might be going to Seattle. Your thoughts? I mean, that's an upgrade for Seattle.
Yeah,
that would. Oh, I would love it if Jimmy G went to Seattle. Please.
Where did
I feel like it'll feel.
Go ahead, Simon.
I was going to say, I just feel like it'll make it less icky to draft DK Metcalf, and I want to draft DK Metcalf.
Definitely be less icky.
I want to be excited to draft him, but right now, every time I hit that button, I'm like, oh, Geno Smith, oh, Drew Lock. I just don't feel good pressing that button. That would make me feel a lot better about pressing it.
It'd be funny if it was like DK Metcalf on Sleeper was like somehow petty, and now you just can't draft him. He's like, no, it's too late. You can't draft me anymore.
No.
Craig, where do you think? How much of a boost does DK Metcalf get from if this trade is actually happening?
No, I have no way to gauge that. I mean, it's a preferred situation over what they have currently, and I think people feel a little bit better about his situation overall. But I don't think Jimmy G ends up being this godsend for him that makes the season all of a sudden go from wide receiver 2 to wide receiver 1 or something like that. No. I think you just feel more comfortable about drafting him at that point.
Yeah. I think make it feel less icky for me to do it. Like I would feel more comfortable.
I feel more comfortable about Seattle in general. And what I mean by that is like, I'm actually okay with DK Metcalf because he was good with Geno last year. And if Geno starts, I mean, of course, I'd rather have somebody better there. But with Tyler Lockett, I would actually feel okay drafting Tyler Lockett, which I have not felt okay drafting him all offseason.
I never feel okay drafting Tyler Lockett. But we just talked about DK Metcalf. I feel like I mentioned a couple days ago on the stream that he's just the type of player where it doesn't matter how low he falls in drafts, it still doesn't feel low enough for me. Like I just can't get him in any draft.
And is it truly just the situation for him, JL, that makes you feel that way? Because we have seen the talent and we've seen the man himself. Know what I mean? Like just a picture of that man inspires confidence. He's a beast.
I think he's a beast. I think he's physically he's one of the most athletic players in the NFL, obviously. I don't think that necessarily fully equates to talent as a wide receiver or being able to generate fantasy points. I don't think he's a bad wide receiver. I'm not trying to say DK Metcalf is not, doesn't have this elite potential. I just don't think it's going to be as consistent as like, I don't know, a Jamar Chase, who I just think like fundamentally has honed his craft so well that he's able to create separation, even if it's not based off just physical size. And so I'm not against DK Metcalf. The situation, of course, is hurting him a lot, but I just don't think that DK Metcalf can transcend how bad of an offense that looks like it's going to be.
I think a lot of the ick comes from the fact that not more than a year ago, or maybe a little more than a year ago, we were talking about him as the top dynasty wide receiver. Know what I mean? Like the number one dynasty wide receiver. And so then that switch has made the fall, I think, a lot more drastic in our minds because it was from the expectation of the best in the league. And now that doesn't really feel like it's even in his range of outcomes. Like, it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys experience this, but it would be like consensus feels so strong sometimes, and then all of a sudden it'll switch, and like consensus is like off a player, but it's not super clear why. I feel like AJ Brown went through that, DK Metcalf.
Is there something going on with our video on YouTube? I see Scott saying, what happened? And then other Scott in here saying, well, I guess it's on the chat to finish the show. Jimmy G would be a slight fantasy boon for the Seahawks, but still only a 5-6 win team.
I have it up next to me and it's still playing. So
okay.
Maybe it's a little red claw.
There's a lot of people watching now.
Scott said, I'll take grab bag for 400. Okay.
Let us know in the chat if it's still working, by the way. Yeah. All right. Grab bag for 400. Which of these is made up? Red, blue, fuchsia.
All of the above.
Yep.
Every color's made up. They're all just a construct created by humans to describe the world that lives around us. Colors aren't real.
I thought I'd trick you, but you double tricked me back.
We got Fantasy Dog in here saying Allen in the 5th, Gabe Davis end of the 7th. What? Remember, this is a 10-team league as well, so the rounds are going to look a little different. And the further we get in the draft,
is kind of common. I don't know.
And then I was going to say, I don't think that's egregious. I think that's pretty normal. Joey, do you think
I would do it?
Do you think either of these picks is egregious?
So Allen in the 5th, in a 10-team league, I'm actually okay with it. And the other one was
The other one was Gabriel Davis in the 7th.
Yeah, I mean, all offseason people have been hyping him up, so that was some great value for Dustin there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think both of these, like Allen in the 5th, that's in a 1-quarterback 10-team league. I think that's around where you're going to see him going. He's got like a 3rd, 4th round ADP in 12-team leagues. Yeah, sure, maybe it was a slight value for Scott, but that's not preposterous. This is a 1-quarterback 10-team league. If you can wait till the 14th round and probably draft Aaron Rodgers still in a league like this. Know what I mean? So it's not egregious for Josh Allen to fall all the way to the 5th. And then Gabe Davis end of 7th. Yeah, it was a value. Every draft falls differently, and there will be guys that fall a little bit past their ADP, but maybe there's some people who are out on him. I'm out. I've been out on Gabe Davis at cost where he's being drafted, not just in general for this year, but maybe there's a couple extra people in this league drafting with us that feel that same way.
Trying to look at some players here to see what some incredible value I think is.
And let's see who went around Gabe Davis. We've got the 7th round.
Hawk, Gabe Davis. Cooper,
and before him,
Edmonds.
Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Adam Thielen. Like, that's the tier that it feels like Gabe Davis should be going in, right? Yeah. Like around those receivers.
Yeah.
At least I feel that.
I mean, I like him more than Amon-Ra St. Brown, to be honest.
I like him more than Amari Cooper, like the receiver that went after him. Know what I mean? But I just think it was good value.
Oh, give me Amon-Ra St. Brown over Davis.
Nice.
I'm on that Hard Knocks hype.
And Craig with Damian Pierce, the sweetheart of Twitter recently in the 9th round.
Surprised you didn't take him earlier, Craig. He was still there in the 2nd round.
I thought about it, but given how Sleeper's draft is set up, I figured I could wait a few rounds. So glad to get him later than the 2nd round.
That's a great point, Craig. Make sure you're paying attention to the platform you're on's ADP because, like, whether people want to admit it or not, it does affect their drafting strategy because there's some cognitive, like, blocker whenever you scroll to the player that you want. Know what I mean? Because then you start thinking, can I get him next time? Can I wait? Right. And so like,
am I missing something?
That can be an area where you can exploit that ADP to get some value on some players and to make sure you get the guys that you want. And every platform's different. The ADP is going to look a little different from platform to platform. So familiarize yourself with it.
I started writing something up. I was going to maybe make a video out of it, but I was just thinking about, drafting and draft strategy and how a lot of people follow ADP, and it's just kind of this blind strategy. And you start to get worried if you're too far from ADP. And I started thinking about it, I'm like, ADP doesn't really tell you how a player is going to perform. It's really more valuable as a data point to tell you how people are thinking, like how the masses are thinking, and where there might be edges to play against, those assumptions that the macro people are playing. So I don't know. Is this a thought? I think, as you're going into draft week here, if you have your drafts, think of that. Recognize whenever you have that sort of like pullback feeling Simon's describing, where you're like, oh, is this too early?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm 100% team get your guy. So ADP is, people like to talk about myths in fantasy football. ADP is a myth because it's not going to just apply to your one specific league that you're drafting into that moment.
Yeah, it's also near impossible to measure without messing up the data. But I digress. We got Joseph in here. What up, Joseph? Say, anyone doing a Survivor League this year? Any ideas about week 1? Craig, you doing any Survivor League?
And I'm guessing
there is one. Roto Heat has one up with prizes. It's in the Discord. Rick is running it. Ooh. I think it's on Yahoo. So
I'll grab an invite to the Discord and put it in the chat here. Simon, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, just to clarify, like Survivor League, we're talking about like you pick one game each week of someone that, like a team that you think will win that week, but then you can't use them again the rest of the year. Am I thinking about the right league? Okay, yeah.
Carolina Panthers week 1.
So I would pick the Carolina Panthers over the Browns week 1.
Baker's gonna light them up.
I am so bad at that format for I ruin it. I overthink it every year where I'm like at the beginning of the season, I get too cute because I'm trying to save those good teams for the end. But then the teams I thought were bad are good. The teams I thought were good are bad. Everything switches. There's an upset and I'm out in week 2. Like I think I haven't made it past week 3 in the last 3 years in the Survivor pools that I've done.
For most like Survivor pools, either like playoffs or for the season, a lot of times I'll rely heavily on sports books, like lines, and also I will rely heavily on people doing analysis and like probability. So like 538 is a big resource that I'll use throughout the season just to check in on how they're measuring the probability that this team is going to make it to the playoffs, the probability that this team is going to win. And so I would lean heavily on those. These folks are very sharp. It's the reason they make a lot of money.
Yeah. And I do like Panthers over Browns, just so we're saying that right there. And I see Dustin in here, Broncos over Seahawks week 1 if they don't trade for Jimmy G. I did not realize that we had Broncos, Russell Wilson going against his old team, Baker Mayfield going against his old team. Those are both fun matchups. And then what was the other one I saw in here? Joseph said was going to go Panthers, but I also like Saints over Falcons.
Okay.
For week 1. What do you think about that one, Joey?
Yeah, I like it. I become the Jameis Winston guy on the show.
I think so.
Talk about him every
but I love that someone defends him on the show.
Yeah, listen, Jameis is so much fun for fantasy. I'm so glad he's not on the Bucs anymore, so I don't have to worry about him as my quarterback on my team. But yeah, the Falcons defense is trash as usual. And Jameis indoors, even though he's away. Yeah, let's go.
No, I've been rising on Jameis recently, Joey. I feel like that's been a player that I think I was a little bit too low on going into the season.
Was great last year, and the small sample size we saw. Let's hope he continues that.
Do you think they're going to unleash him a little bit more this year? Or do you think the role we saw him in last year, it wasn't the same Jameis that we saw with the Bucs with how they were using him?
The
do you think it's going to look more like that?
I like this idea that they're like holding back Jameis.
I think they are. They're like, do not chuck it. Just
only go at 65%. There are lots of interceptions.
I think the LASIK might have fixed everything, guys. And it's terrifying because he could win a Super Bowl. But I guess
just wait till the next bodily enhancement. Also, I see you can't hang in there saying, are the mock drafts with the chat? They are.
Absolutely.
We put the link in our Discord before every show. I believe the link to our Discord is in the video description. If you want to click on that, we can also throw it in the chat. But that's where we post the link. That first dibs to any of the draft spots are done in there. Then if there's any left over, we throw the link in the chat once the stream starts. But that doesn't happen super often.
And just to give you a little secret, I think we're going to be doing a lot of mock drafts this week because it's mock draft week. Let's go.
It is draft week, baby. This is the time.
definitely will be opportunities if you hop in that Discord or just hop in the stream and, who knows? Maybe the Discord won't take all the spots.
Also, I love Dave's strategy. He said, for Survivor Leagues, I don't play cute. I go with the matchup I'm most confident in each week, including week 1. Yeah, I think that's the move. Get cute at the end of the season when you have to. Force yourself to get to week 17, because if you don't make it that far, then you're not playing anyways. I like your strategy, Dave, because I lose every time.
You can't hang. And love finding fantasy Discord servers. We're glad you found us. Welcome in, my friend.
Oof, man, I love this point of the draft, because Craig, you said you're all team get your guy. I feel like after like round 8, like my mindset really switches to just like forget ADP, get my guy, take whoever I want here, because I don't care if they're getting back. Like the payoff for taking the risk of waiting really kind of goes away the later you get in the draft. Like, what's the payoff? You get your wide receiver 40 instead of your wide receiver 42. Know what I mean? Like
your miss rate's already so high.
But in the first 2 rounds, it can like really matter. Like if I would have taken DeAndre Swift, I probably wouldn't have gotten Swift and Chase. So I was more willing to take that risk because the payoff was greater without much of a downfall. Here, I feel like it's just downfall if you're not taking your guys. You're just going to miss on your guy.
It's interesting because that is the reason why I typically don't love shooting for higher risk, higher upside players in those first 2 rounds, because I think what you're gaining proportional to that risk is not worth it. I'd rather go for someone safe, because if whoever you're drafting in the first round, you're expecting first round output. And so that's the most that they can produce. You guys see what I'm doing? You guys are following that.
That made me think of something that I saw the other day. I forget who put the tweet out. I wish I could remember, but it made me think. And it was talking about how just statistically, the 101 is the worst pick to have, because you are drafting whoever you draft at their ceiling. No matter what, unless they are the number 1 producing fantasy player, you overdrafted them, period.
But if you look at it from like a probability surface area, I guess you get the best choice at the person who's most likely to return. 100%.
100%. I just I'd never thought about it that way. I got to find that tweet somewhere, but it was interesting to think about it in that sense, because that's not wrong. It's not wrong the way they said that.
Right. Yeah. If you're looking at it from a value lens, absolutely. And like just, not gaining essentially on what you're paying.
I'm liking this game of chicken that Scampers, Craig, and I are playing. It's kind of fun.
What's the chicken?
None of us have taken a quarterback yet.
I'm fine with that. 1 QB.
In 10,
wait.
10 team.
I won't even consider it usually before the 10th. So this is right around the time that I would start to consider it, if there are no skill position players who are more enticing to me.
I start considering it when I click on running back, I click on wide receiver, and not a single name inspires confidence, where I just start I'm not excited about any of them. Then I click on quarterback. Know what I mean? But it's until that feeling hits that I'm not even looking that direction. But that happened with that last pick, and Russell Wilson, I feel like, was decent value there. Like he was
Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson.
Seahawks
There's
quarterback
still
Russell
like
Wilson.
8 quarterbacks I'd be fine with having as my quarterback 1. So
absolutely. Another thing to consider is this is a 10-man league. So when I said 10 spots or the 10th round, I'm thinking 12-man. Typically, I'll probably wait longer in a 10-man league.
Yeah. And David, you're saying someone's going to get Stafford and just feel like a winner. Yeah, absolutely. And then there is some people in the chat, multiple people mentioned Nico Collins, and Dustin said, I love Nico Collins. Let Craig speak on Nico. What do you think about Nico this year? You took him down here in the 11th round. Tell us a little bit about your Nico Collins 11th round level of love.
It's a weird thing to say, but I think I'm higher than the consensus on the Texans overall. Davis Mills was a highly recruited quarterback coming into college, and he had a lot of injuries and other stuff happening where he didn't play a whole lot, but the talent was still there. The coaching staff talked about it. He went higher in the draft than people thought last year, obviously, and he showed more than people even thought that he would. And I think they're actually going to give him a real chance to be the quarterback there. They've tried to build up the team. It's going to be a rebuild for a while. Let's be clear about that. But they're going to need to throw the ball more, and it can't just be Brandon Cooks. There has to be someone else if they're going to be competitive in these games. Nico Collins had a nice little first year towards the end of the year. He showed a lot in training camp, and he has that profile of a really nice wide receiver too for that team. So at this point in the draft, down with these other people that are being taken, I'm all in on Nico Collins at that point. I think the reward is a lot higher than the risk.
All in. I like that. I like that passion. Simon, Nico Collins or Tyler Boyd?
1 second. Let me make my pick real quick, and then I will answer that. It's going to be a little
answer
bit,
the question first.
Joey, you took a quarterback.
I did.
Joey, Tom Brady.
I took Tom Brady in the 12th. Yeah, and I don't care. I chickened out into Tom Brady, into his beautiful, beautiful eyes.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's not a bad result.
Did you see how he's looking though on Twitter, Joey? I mean, he looks like he's a skeleton almost out there on those press conferences.
He doesn't need fat. He's still going to dominate. Joseph saying, I was looking at my 10-team league last year. I took Zeke at 13 and Jonathan Taylor went at 14. I wanted to cry when I saw that. Honestly, that's something I think that most fantasy managers don't do enough. And it's always like humbling. It gives me perspective. Before every rookie draft every year, I go back and look at the last 2 years of rookie drafts and just see how wrong we were every single time.
Todd Gurley and Melvin Gordon's rookie year, one pick before Todd Gurley went, I took Melvin Gordon. And and I know maybe that doesn't sound bad, Melvin Gordon over Todd Gurley, but I don't know if you remember just how freaking good Todd Gurley was. And it was a keeper league. It was the startup draft for a keeper league. And I just missed out on that. I missed out on that value because I grabbed Melvin Gordon one pick before Todd Gurley went. I would have been so excited had that gone the other way. But to answer your question, JL, you asked me Nico Collins or Tyler Boyd. If you ask me who am I expecting to have more fantasy points at the end of the season, I got to put $1 million on the line. My answer is Tyler Boyd. Who would I rather draft at this point? Craig hit on the point for upside for Nico Collins in that Texans offense. There's more upside for Nico Collins. And at this point in the draft, I'm looking more at upside than just safe production. I've got my safe wide receiver production. Know what I mean? Like, I don't need a Tyler Boyd to plug into my roster at this point because my wide receiver slot is filled. What I need is someone that maybe they're going to return way greater value than where we drafted them, like Craig was talking about with Nico Collins. And then they work their way into my lineup. They find their way into that spot. There's an injury, and we've got that blow-up ticket on my bench. So I would draft Nico Collins ahead of Tyler Boyd. But just that's probability standpoint, I think Tyler Boyd is more likely to get more points. I like Tyler Boyd.
I don't like to disagree with you, Simon. You just said that Nico Collins one injury away. If Tyler Boyd one injury away from being like a top 12 wide receiver, if either Higgins or Chase goes down, my goodness.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. I just wanted to be a jerk today.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It's out of character for me. I'm sorry, Simon.
Nico
I'll never
Collins
do it again.
No, please disagree with me every time. Nico Collins is starting from that second receiving option in this offense, where Tyler Boyd's starting from the third. The other thing about Tyler Boyd is even if one of those players goes down, Tyler Boyd's role in that offense, I think, is pretty well defined as the slot receiver. Know what I mean? And maybe they use the slot more, but I don't think all of a sudden he's going to have this massive uptick in targets if these guys go down. I think his role is decently defined. He will see an uptick. He does become a much higher end moves into that wide receiver 2 territory for me, but it's not like Jamar Chase gets injured. I'm not putting Tyler Boyd as a top 15 wide receiver all of a sudden.
I think that brings up a good point, Simon, which is like not always thinking about this just in terms of rankings, but like what's the piece that you need to make your team better? Because even if you think that, Nico Collins might score more points than Tyler Boyd, you might need safety. Your team might be better with someone who scores less points in total, but is more consistent or has a more defined role like that, or more predictable role, maybe is the right way to say that.
Yeah, upside's not always the move. Sometimes you just need that guy that is consistent. And those guys fall a lot, as we're seeing with Tyler Boyd. And as we've seen time and time again, Craig, with Jamison Crowder. Maybe this year it's going to get a little bit stickier for him with Isaiah McKenzie. But we saw it year after year with him just getting disrespected, drafted late, but he had a role, and it was safe.
Isaiah McKenzie never washes his hands. Everything is sticky he touches.
Everything is sticky.
If you have kids someday, JL, you'll know what that's like.
I have 9 nieces and nephews, Craig. I know exactly what that is like. Yeah. No, I know very much the sticky life. There's a bunch of comments in here. I realized I just missed. Because we were talking. You can't say Survivor League or a Guillotine League. I think they meant Survivor. Simon and I are actually in a Guillotine League right now, or a draft. Sorry, not league.
Yeah, last 2 rounds I think we're hitting on. It might be my pick in that league, actually.
Probably.
Yeah, it is an 18-team league, Guillotine League. Oh, my God. And it got ugly so fast on that draft board. Like, all of a sudden, every player was gone. It got crazy.
Scott saying, amazing show. Every second of the show has been so memorable. I definitely wasn't at an amusement park all day, riding roller coasters with Ian and just got here. I believe you, Scott.
I thought it was great that we never let Scott on the 3:00 show, but debut radio show, Scott
immediately booked him.
Love it.
What's really funny is that he kept asking if he was really coming on. And we were so bad at planning it that I was like, no, yes, no, yeah, you're coming on.
You're in. You're out. You're in.
You're out.
You're out.
You're out.
You're in. You're out. It's more fun that way for him. Honestly, even if we knew for sure he was coming on, I think that's how we should operate from here on out. Just every 3 hours, or stagger the difference so he doesn't get comfortable. Between 1 and 3 hours, change the plan. Just switch it entirely.
Yes.
All right, Simon. Don't make me sad.
There's a couple of questions in here I want to hit before the end of the stream, so maybe we could do these a little more rapid fire. This guy's asking, Survivor leagues, do you hold on to good teams for later in the season or use them early? What do you think, Greg?
Honestly, I always go for the trying to get fancy route, and it always burns me. Like last year, I took the Jaguars who were playing the Texans last year, like Trevor Lawrence starting out. Oh, the Jaguars are going to do great, and the Texans beat them like 37-21 the first game, so I was dead in my pool last year. So I think it makes sense. Like you just pick whatever you're most confident in, and worry about to week 15 if you get to week 15. You have to get there, otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, I think every time you're like hoping for another week out, it's like even less and less and less probability that that's even going to be the case when you arrive at that week. So I think that's good advice. We got another question here from Uneasy Allies. My keeper league is now going to PPR, $200 budget salary league. Do I keep Javonte Williams for 2022?
No, this is dollar values in a salary
for $22 or T for $15. I honestly was just reading and not comprehending at all.
So they've got $200. They're asking Javonte Williams for 22 or T Higgins for 15. I'm going T Higgins for 15 in my mind. T Higgins is a top 12 wide receiver for me. Javonte Williams is not, and you're getting him for, well, obviously he's not a wide receiver, but he's not an RB1 for me. And you're getting T for less money. It's a value, and I've got him higher ranked in my rankings.
I think this could, honestly, I'm fine going either way. I think this would depend a little bit on what kind of build I want to make. It's close enough that I probably wouldn't be leaning one way as like superior than the other.
Joey, it sounded like you were going the T route as well.
Yeah, unless I had receivers with better value than T that I could also keep. Between these two players, it's T Higgins for $15. I'd be curious, are you keeping anyone else on Easy Allies?
Yeah, that is interesting. Craig, what about you? Are you going?
JL makes a good point about the build. So
the other thing to consider, and you only go off the info that you have. Are there any like round restrictions? Like, hey, each year you have to take a round higher, all this weird stuff that happens in keeper league. So if it's just purely money based with the info that you have, I would go T Higgins and save that money and still have one of those top wide receivers like you mentioned. But there's all those other considerations that might be there.
You're right. Yeah. If this is a league where there is not a monetary penalty, like I know in some like salary cap leagues or budget leagues, like every year you keep it, Craig, it goes up $15 or $10 or $5 or whatever it is. If there's not, Javonte Williams has a much higher likelihood of like absolutely blowing that value out of the water going into next season. You know what I mean? And JL, I think you're right. Like they're close enough that I wouldn't be mad if someone took Javonte at that value. And then going into next year, there's a real chance Javonte could be one of those running backs. Let's say Melvin Gordon's gone. He's alone in that backfield. His value could increase just through the roof. So if there's not a penalty, you could take that into account. You could keep him. I'm still going T.
Yeah,
I'm still going
T. And
T
assuming that you can keep, and I've seen some keeper leagues where you can't keep the same player again the next year. So those little rules are important. All right, we're gonna take one more question here before we go. Texas Made 88. What up? Said thoughts on a 10-team league. Lance, Eckler, Javonte, Evans, Higgins, Schultz, and Mike Williams. What's one move you guys would make to this team? This is your team, the 10-team league.
Not drafted that quarterback.
Not drafting Trey Lance.
Yeah.
No.
And you know what? In a 10-team league, you can get somebody off the waiver wire when he doesn't have a job after week 6 to put him in there.
I pair him with someone off the waiver wire.
I'm being so mean. No. Grab somebody like Kirk Cousins to pair with Trey Lance. Somebody
pair
that's got
with him,
just a really. I know you don't like Kirk Cousins, JL, but
what you're saying is
really
true. Is
floor.
why I don't like him is because he's just freaking this. He's just always one line. That's it.
Ooh, that was big thunder. Sorry.
No, something I would be looking to do here. Truly, the only position that looks like maybe a little bit weaker is that RB2 spot, and that's because I'm a little bit down on Javonte. So in a 10-team league, but you make it up with Evans and Higgins at your wide receivers, and Mike Williams as your third guy. That's a strong wide receiver core. That's high.
It's a beautiful team though.
I would be looking out for a big Javonte game or something along those lines, and maybe package him and move him and see if you can upgrade at that running back position. But overall, this is a great team. And if Lance unlocks that rushing ability that he has and can be kind of like that cheat code for fantasy, then that's going to elevate this team to another level. I view like Lance as the X factor between this being a good team and a great team. Like if Lance is what a lot of people expect, if he has that rushing floor, then this is a great team.
You're going to have a fun season.
If he's not, then it's a good team. Then you got a good team with a shot.
But in a 10 team league, you can get somebody to fill that quarterback spot if Lance doesn't pan out.
Greg, how do you feel about Lance this year?
I mean, I took him at the end of our draft here, and I do like him a lot. To your point, that rushing upside, it gives you a really nice floor to build off of, and then everything else kind of is gravy depending on where you took him in the draft. But 10-team league, like Joey said, it's a lot safer in that you can go find someone else to get your production out there off the waiver wire. So
Tua,
go for the ceiling.
And love the Tua as well.
Ooh, I love Dylan. Oh,
that
that's
just
such
made
a good pick.
And then seeing Elijah Moore on your bench as well with some upside for Kenneth Walker at running back. This team just elevated for me with your bench. Like a decent chunk. Nice job, Texas.
Good job, Texas.
Well done.
Guys, that is going to be it for us this afternoon. A huge thanks to everybody who drafted along with us today and to Craig for taking the time to come on and hang out with us. Craig, it is always a pleasure.
If you didn't draft with us today, if you didn't get to, we're going to be doing a lot more this week and trying to get you guys prepared for your draft. So make sure you join our Discord or just subscribe to our channel. Make sure you turn that bell on.
100%. Craig, thank you again. We love having you on, man, every time.
I love you guys too. It's always great to be in the chat or whatever it is with you guys. So thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Man, Craig.
Guys, if you are not already following Craig, go and fix that right now. He's got the endorsement from Dave, so you know it's for real. He's on Twitter at RotoHeatCraig, right there below his handsome face on the screen. So make sure you guys go over there and follow him. That is it for us today. JL and I will be live tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern time from 7 to 10 over on the Better Sports Network and probably on our YouTube channel as well with Coupe Fiasco. And then we'll be back here tomorrow with Joey back for some fantasy football game show going on the rest of this week. The look in your eyes just gave me a small panic that I misspoke.
I'm Joey.
But Joey will be back with us.
Yeah, I'll be. I'm here, I think, every day this week.
Every day. So make sure you guys come back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time to hang out with us, do some more mock drafting.
Yeah.
Until then, though, we are out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Adios, everyone.
Hasta la pasta.
Bye-bye.
Hasta la pasta.